Alrighty. Hello, welcome to our beginner's blue mist painting. Now, this is going to be a little different. I've already done a few other paintings and now I'm going to have to redo this painting. So, don't mind me, but I am going to show you guys how this came about in real time. That is the point of a paint along rather than just a simple tutorial. So I've got my cloth and what's left of it, some clean water, a canvas, and of course paint. This time we are going to use deep violet phthalo blue and 2 bits of the titanium white. And I'm going to show you why we're going to need a lot of white for this. This is a very long bristled brush, but this is a giant flat brush that we're going to be using. And the style's essentially the same. Both flat brushes, medium and extremely small, and then a liner round brush just in case. Because I have discovered I really like flat brushes. So this is how this is going to go. All right, hopefully you've got everything. We're going to begin, and excuse me for being in a hurry, but we need to get to this straight away so you guys can actually have some time to get this done. Again, this is straight paint along, no breaks, no, how would you put it? Like no speeding through. I am not going to speed this video up when I get to the editing phase. We are really just going right into it. So forgive me for going through this, but we are going to start with a glob of white and we're going to get it on our canvas. Seems really silly, but here you go. You can kind of see the shine on it. Get that white all up in the middle there. It's going to work very lovely. Now, the thing I'm going to do is take some phthalo blue in a corner piece here and try to blend it out. I'm going to create what is called a gradient. That means one color on one side, one color on the other, and we're going to mix right in between where it's a perfect blend of the two. So the white is not entirely white. I'm dragging that blue down into it, up and down, up and down. So it's this extremely, extremely light blue. And that's kind of where we're going here. Get some more white just because it's a good cover. Get some blue. And the idea is truly to get darker at the top the further we go. Some spots are lighter, some spots are darker, but truthfully it should be darker down to lighter. So this may seem very weird to some people. Just, why are you doing this? Blah, 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 blah. This is not going to be a complete monochromatic piece. Again, we still had that purple on our palette, so don't panic. I like to hold my canvas as well, so forgive me if anyone's getting nauseous watching me do that. I'm trying to get all the little white bits out, and then even if you've got the color you want, you can continue to add a darker color and get it even darker, working that gradient. That's the good thing about wet paint. It works very, very well. So, because we have that first half, I'm going to actually take my brush and wash it out. Get the bristles on the bottom, clean it out as best as I can. As long as I can move my brush up the side and the color is clear water, you're generally pretty good. So let's check it. Yep. So that's how that works. Still just taking a ton of white here. And I'm taking a little bit of the purple, blending that into the bottom here. Seems almost irrelevant, but I promise you it has a purpose. We just want to blend this out. You can make very nice figure eights. Get that down here and make a beautiful pink. And it's not entirely necessary, but that's just the way I'm going with it. You could also do blue at the bottom, as long as the middle is white and it gradient changes out to a darker color, whatever that color you would like it to be. Now, I'm going to try and get a good mix here while this dries. So, this is drying. I still have only been using my one piece, so this bit over here is my mixing white. I'm going to mix colors based on what I think is necessary. So over here, I'm going to mix my purple with a little bit of blue and some white. And we're going to try and go for a lavender, very light purple. That's why I put so much white over here. Trust me when I say it's going to take a lot of white. I'm trying to get this all mixed in together. It is a very beautiful color if I can get it to do what I need it to do. So let's see. My medium brush here. It looks a little too dark, so I'll add some more white. Now mind you, I'm not touching my canvas. It's still drying. I just want to try to get the paint over here ready to go. So it's kind of what I'm working with. Hopefully that will be acceptable. Set that over there for a second, and we're going to turn on my fan, which is over here. Come fan, dry my piece, please. So you can see how shiny it is. This whole thing really, really needs to dry. So we're going to let that dry and yeah, just chat a bit, because why not? I promised you I would not speed this up. So here we go. Let's see. What have you guys been doing today? Generally, if I'm on a dry break like this, you can take a hair dryer and speed up the process. Or if you're kind of like me, I tend to do other things while I'm up and about. So I'll get to one spot with my painting and go, okay, yes, I'm done. And I'll get up, go either get a snack, change laundry, whatever I'm doing. Because there's always chores around the mountain home. And most of the time, it ends up all pretty fair and well. So, not entirely sure what you guys would be up to or interested in. But for me, I like to listen to music or watch movies while I do my painting. So, sitting here and doing a full paint along with you guys is a little bit different, isn't it? So, this is the first time we're trying this. And you get to hear me blabber, which is so much fun. Although, if you guys do like the paint-alongs and doing this in real time, granted you guys can pause me, but for me right now in real life, this is just continuously going. So, I mean, if you guys like this kind of stuff, go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know that you like the paint-alongs versus the tutorials. The tutorials, I tend to take time like this, where I really would get up and do those sorts of things. Or I would, you know, edit the video to where it would just show zip, 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 zip. Okay, now it's dry. Ta-da! Within the snap of your fingers. But that's not what we're doing today. Some people really like that kind of stuff. Some people are really, really impatient. I'm pretty impatient. But honestly, if this is more your style, where we just kind of hang out and do stuff, let me know. I would really like to know. Otherwise, I think we'll probably stick more towards the tutorials and do it as a voiceover later. The only good thing for me about doing this all in one go is I don't have to edit a thing. You guys are gonna get the whole thing. I'm not cutting anything out. So, oh boy, I better watch what I say. So. If you haven't noticed, yes, I have a lot of paint all over me already. It's been a long painting day. The first one did not turn out the way I intended, so we did our second one, and now I feel really bad, and I'm going back and redoing the beginning one. Actually, I guess I should show you guys, just to prove that nothing turns out exactly the way we want. So this was my first example of like a quick, you know, try to get through the gradients. This is terrible. I'm not even gonna lie. This is very terrible. I think I was just in too much of a hurry. So once this is completely dry, I'll just paint over it and do something later. But it's called Blue Mist. This does not look misty to you guys, does it? No, it doesn't. So when I did my intermediate version, this looks way better. And I was very careful and did a much better job with the mist in the background. So I even put some clouds in, and why not? So now that I've done this piece and I have a little more experience, especially knowing where I want to go with my colors, I'm redoing it in the beginner's version. So snap, I totally gave myself away. I screwed up the first one. So for me, this is more like 4 hours of painting. Yeah, almost. It's been about 3.5 hours in my real time. So much fun. But this is almost dry and we'll be able to move on. But yeah, things don't always go the way you want with painting. But I always tell you guys that, you know, it's not a tattoo, it's paint. You can go over it with paint, which is very clear with this. I'm going to paint over it once it's 100% dry. But if it's not what you like, it doesn't mean it's a waste. You learned something doing it, so do it again. And very clearly, when you do it a second time, it's way better. So I think I'll take the time to do that. And yeah. This is kind of just a life lesson, especially to myself. I may be a professional, but honestly, I've done over 200 individual paintings. I've done probably 300 or 400 if you count how many times I have done the same painting. Because I used to work at a wine and paint place. So, I mean, I've done a lot of these kinds of paintings over and over and over. And clearly, let's see, since 2015? So, holy snap. It's been a while. Yeah, and before that, I painted, my first painting class was actually in college, and that was 2010. So I've been painting since 2010. Just as an example, just because I've got all this year's experience doesn't mean I don't do stupid shit. I clearly did some stupid shit here. So, and I apologize. I know I said bad words. I try not to on YouTube, but sometimes, you guys, it's just not great. Okay, so that is that. I think that's a good mix. Let's test out our lavender hue here. It really makes me scared because I feel like it's not enough white. When we first started, it was pretty bare. Actually, see how much lighter this one is? Probably not, but if you can, I think we're gonna go with this lighter version first. You can always go darker, like that is no joke, but honestly the light stuff is kind of hard to redo, so let's do some light ones. Okay, that's not bad. That is very light. I think that's perfect. So what I'm gonna do is make a bunch of streaks and lines right here in the middle. Now I'm not going too high, I'm not going too low, and you can, oops, here we go, I'm trying to get here. You can tell that it is, even though a light color, it still very much shows up because of the white in the middle. So this is exactly what we're going for right here. I just want a bunch of, okay, you can do some pretty tall. I'm not even gonna lie. Some of them can be pretty tall. If I'm gonna go off of what I just made and try to do a much simpler version, I guess we have to follow the same rules, right? So here's some trees, here's some random trees. Let's get some tall ones. But mostly we just want those faded ones in the back. So those can just look like little bits. Let's get some paint on here. Actually, let's not. Let's get the small flat brush. Here we go. Let's use our very light bits here. Try to just do some cross tree branches here, you know. Sometimes they will show up very well, sometimes they will not. But honestly, it doesn't matter if they're perfect or not. We're really gonna cover a lot of this up, but you just need the generalized idea of, oh hey, you know, X marks the spot, here we go, we made all these branches. But also I feel like this will show up a lot better later on when this is very, very dry and this is hard to see, hard to tell. So I'm pretty much just making X's, you know, pretending that, oh hey, look, these are branches, isn't this cool, ha ha ha. Some of them are really close, some of them are really far away. think it's mostly just color being spritzed everywhere, but it's good for what we're doing, so. Like I said in the other painting, I think this is kind of like really tall, straight fir trees, so don't expect too much from them, but I do believe that this can look really good if you try hard and do a few like bigger trees, smaller trees, so don't be afraid to make some really big ones. So here's a really big one. There's another really big one. Kind of just looks like a mess at the moment, but I promise you, this is very normal. Half the time, especially even if you're doing digital art, actually, what you're painting or doing looks like a hot mess, and it makes you want to give up, which I'm going to sit here and have to encourage you guys. Look at my painting. This is a hot mess. This looks like nothing, but trust me, by the time you're done, it will look way better. You just got to get to that point. So, putting up my other painting as reference over here so I can look at it. I think we're going to take our round brush. I'm not using stark white. I'm still using like the lavender color that we've gotten here. And I'm just doing some dabbing. Dab, 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 dab. Nothing crazy, but this is my version of trying to make clouds. So you do that, you get your brush in there, you dab it away, and you just roll, 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 roll with it, literally. Really spacey, flyaway clouds. And sometimes I'll go like one way and the other way just so it looks more realistic. I have noticed that my clouds tend to look way better when I'm making them kind of stringy or, oh, there's a hair, or just trying to give it some life, you know, between these clouds. Like, clouds don't just stay stagnant. They get pushed around by air currents. So I try to kind of keep that in mind when I make my clouds. I'm trying to keep them really fluffy on the bottom too, like round and easy to tell what's going on. So it's not perfect, but you know, it's pretty darn close. So it's all dotted up. It's a little different, nothing crazy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, this is also the beginner's course, so I'm not going to sit here and expect you guys to do anything stark crazy. All right, picking up some blue now, which there's already blue down here, but I want my own version of blue down here. I'm gonna pull this purple into it, which is kind of dark. It'll get darker as we add more purple to more blue. Again, not the perfect choice here, but I'm using the color that I've already got mixed, which is nice. We don't have to worry about that, but some more purple. I do worry about the color. Now, keeping in mind that we're using a lot of purple in our blue, this is going to ensure that we keep this uniform color here. I learned this doing my intermediate version here. So, now it's really, really scary. We did all the light color on the tree. Oops, let me zoom in here. But now, I'm gonna use this tall tree as an example. We're gonna come down, and we're actually going to have some darker, not that dark though. I do feel like that is pretty dark. Let's get some white. Some more white. Thank you. Now see, we didn't mean for it to be that dark, but either way, add a lot of white. Let's do it again. Okay, it's a much better color. You can get a nice tree out of there. So, I'm going to start dabbing my little flat brush here, just to kind of give myself a general idea of where I want my tree bits to be. So let me zoom this out. It's kind of hanging low branches over here, but I do want the middle to definitely get fat. So this is my quick way of dabbing in between, making these look much bigger than they are. I don't know, I guess it's a fir tree. I have no idea. This is just what I kind of went with. So we're gonna do this a few different times. So I'm gonna get the paint out of my brush here and do some really tall, more stark trees. And try to make these pretty much just fit in. So to make them fit in, I've got to kind of worry about my gradient here. Just know that the trees come down, their branches go out, and fill it up in the middle. Fill it up in the middle. Dab, 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 dab. Quick tree out of nowhere. I hope that wasn't blurry. That was probably blurry. If it was, I'm sorry. But same thing on all sides. You've got a tree and you've got a tree. This one goes up, this one goes up. This one's not as big, but I think this one will be more dabby in the middle, even though there's two, you see there's two whole trees right here. So you at least know it's going to be a little different. One's going to go out even further on one side, I assume. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Really nothing you can do about that. Just hope for the best. And mix it up where you think that it doesn't look great. It's all about hiding your mistakes, because really there are no mistakes. But if you're going to have a lot of really open, obvious tree and leaves sticking out, you might as well at least try. So I kept this all one color, right? That was our second layer, one color. Tell you what I am gonna do. I'm gonna dab a little bit of blue and a little bit of purple right here in the middle. Mix it with the color I currently have to make it darker. Although it's a little more purple, I wanted a little more blue. Trying to keep with some of the cooler colors here. Do-do-do-do, mixy mixy. And then just swoosh, swoosh, get it out of the brush. All right, it's gonna be a little darker on some of our tree bits. So the bottom halves, I'm gonna slowly work my way up and try to make them match these top pieces. Because I want the bottom to be dark. I want it to be very obvious that this is a gradient on a tree going from a few different spots. Also, I do want to keep my darker side to the right. So lots and lots of dark bits to the right. Yes, thank you, thank you. Mix it up, make it look good. Best as you can. Sometimes it only takes a few dabs here and there for anything to even look good. Doesn't even matter. And this is what I'm left with. Zoom out, zoom in. Literally just a bunch of dabs. They're not all that impressive. But to an untrained eye, they look great. So, washing out my brush, because I'm going to use the same color, which again I needed to be a little darker. Mix some more of it. It's dark, but it's not perfect here. Now here's why. I need a lot of paint because I'm going to create one really big tree right here in the middle. Why, you ask? Because you want everything to have some character. And so giving my stuff character here, I'm utilizing the fact that there's a big tree in the front of my piece that I can have sticks and twigs and pieces that want to just come off and not look that great. But at the top, I want it to look pretty solid, so we're going to do some nice big bits here. Now, it mixes in. It's the same color, yes. Here's why. Gonna add some blue. And I'm gonna go across the back sides. Actually, it's not a very good darker color, so here, let me mix some more. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. Color mixing's really freaking hard. Okay, here we go. Much darker purple. That's better. I want it on the back sides of all of my pieces, but also I want it to texturize my tree. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it does enforce that there is a light from one side in particular, which for us means that left side. So, keeping the darker bits over here on this side. Ooh, oh. Fun stuff. Now, I'm gonna put that brush away. I'm gonna take the light purple that we've had before, and I'm gonna go down the left sides of, excuse me, left sides of the tree. Like, does it seem very silly to do this? Oh, and add texture, excuse me. Some dabbing in here. But yes, it does seem silly to do this. However, there are some really good spots on trees that just look really good in lots of light and lots of shadow. And I personally think that when you have big trees up in the front like this, you should take the advantage of it being front and center. Get some texture in there, get some stuff in there, make it look good. Sometimes it doesn't always look good. And a lot of times, if it's still wet, it'll blend together. The paint will anyway. But just know that that's normal. It's completely fine. Wash out these brushes really, 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 really good. There we go. All right. Now, we have some trees in the bottom that are pretty dark. So what I'm going to do is kind of take the same color, this dark color that we have, and I'm going to try to fake a really terrible squiggly Christmas tree here. It's never perfect, so don't be upset if your tree looks really bad. Mine just started out crooked. Did you not see? And we'll get that as best as possible. And I'm going to try to mix the same color here. It may not be quite the same. It may be a little more purple. Woo! This is a little more blue. But I'm going to do some more. So here's the blue bit. Should be darker if we're going to actually do that. So here's the cold shadowy bit. There's my crooked top tree. I'm going to very terribly make some little ones here. I'm actually going to switch to my really small brush for these. But I do feel like there ought to be some, you know, different versions of these trees in here. Right now it's the same color, which is fine, but excuse me, I did not realize that that the battery kind of went out. Excuse me. As I was trying to tell you guys, you have a shadow, a mid, and now a really light color over here. And it's all pretty much just faking it. I mean, this is the best we got right here. Your colors are going to mix together just like they are right here. But I just want you guys to know that that's completely okay. You just have to keep dipping your brush or wait for your paint to dry for the tops of these trees, pretty much. Because I don't want them to be too dark. But for a beginner version, that's exactly what we need. So, zooming out, that's not bad. That is really, really, really good. All right, clean out my brushes here. Boop. I have one final thing that I did on the other one that I am going to do here, even though this is a beginner. I want to take this really light blue, although I may have to just mix it in here with some more blue. Oh, too much. Give me some light, 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 light. So, to make the ground appear pretty snowy in effect, I have a little bit of purple and a little bit of blue, but it's mostly blue with the white right here. It looks like a baby blue, but it's got a little bit of a purple hint to it. Alrighty. So the ground, mind you, again, is all pink. So what I would do is just cover very carefully the sides that I think would be in shadow. So a lot of it would be ground coverage, you know, whatever. This snowy bit, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, oh, how do you know? Just, again, pretend that the left side is where the light is coming from, and then you have these little hills of light that want to come through. And play in the snow. Doesn't have to be perfect. And this is why I'm doing this last. This is kind of like an optional bit. It just looks a little more interesting when you're like, oh yeah, see there's shadow here behind all this, behind the trees, under the trees, but there is actual light for most of it. You know, so it kind of gives a horizon line over here, but not entirely. It's not perfect. And then you can always take your old colors and fix stuff if you think you messed it up. Which mostly I never think I mess up. Unless it's, you know, like the old one, where it was really terrible. But this is it. This is all I wanted to show you guys for this tutorial. This is a much better version of this tutorial as well. Violently washing my brushes. So, those are going to get a good bath here in a minute. So, beginner version. Don't be weird compared to the intermediate version. Intermediate version has more, but I can at least safely say it's the same painting, whether you believe me or not. It really is. So it's kind of all just trial and error. And don't be upset if you mess up, because there is no messing up with painting. You just paint over it. So hope this was enjoyable. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, you can subscribe and you'll see when new videos and tutorials, things like this, come out. Otherwise, I'll just see you guys in the next Paint With Me or tutorial. So thank you for painting with me and letting me ramble this whole time about all of my work, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. So have a great day. I'll see you guys next time, and share with me on social media if you do one of these paintings on your own. Thanks. Bye.